You could hear a pin drop in the Browns' front office the moment the headline hit social media. Shedeur Sanders signs historic brand deal days after release. Not Shedeur Sanders cut. Not rookie QB struggles. No, the story was already past Cleveland. And just like that, Shedeur had flipped the script from overlooked fifth-rounder to the most talked-about free agent in football, without throwing a single pass in the regular season. And the Browns? Left blinking, stunned, mouths open, trying to figure out how they let this one get away.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It wasn't just a deal. It was the deal. A multi-year contract with one of the biggest athletic apparel brands in the world. 7 figures. Global campaign. Full creative control. Shedeur wasn't just the face of a product. He was the brand now. You know what else? This wasn't a sympathy signing. No, he got a deal because people feel bad moment. This was strategy. Shedeur knew exactly what he was doing. While the league treated him like a developmental project, he built his empire. Media team? Already in place. Merch drop? Sold out in minutes. A docuseries? Greenlit before training camp was even over. And the minute Cleveland handed him his walking papers, Shedeur walked straight into legacy mode. He didn't tweet a single complaint. Didn't like a shady post. Didn't post a cryptic quote. He just moved. And every move was a checkmate. Because this wasn't just about proving Cleveland wrong. It was about redefining what it means to be cut. Most players disappear into the shadows after getting dropped. Shedeur? He doubled his following, doubled his endorsements, doubled down on the belief that he didn't need a depth chart to validate him. And it wasn't just fans taking notice. By week's end, 5 NFL teams had already called his agent. 2 more sent scouts to his independent workouts. Workouts that just so happened to be open to media, professionally filmed, and broadcast in real time across every major social platform. Think Pro Day, but with sponsors. What other rookie can say that? What other cut rookie can say that? But here's the real kicker. While the NFL scrambled to reevaluate its scouting approach, while front offices panicked over what they'd missed, Shedeur Sanders wasn't just making business moves, he was inspiring a movement. College athletes, high school phenoms, even current NFL players started to speak up. Why can't we own our own narrative? Why are we still waiting for teams to give us permission to build? Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't just the quarterback that got away. He was a symbol, a warning shot fired across the bow of the old-school NFL machine. You couldn't box him in, couldn't humble him with silence, couldn't slap a clipboard in his hand and call it development. He had leverage. He had fans. He had power. And the Browns? They had regret. Deep, throbbing, can't sleep at night regret. Because back at training camp, coaches had seen the flashes. That sideline throw in double coverage. That audible that burned the blitz. The confidence. The pace. The swagger. But instead of leaning in, they backed off. They labeled it too flashy. Said he wasn't humble enough. Translation? He wasn't easy to control. And that's what they never understood. Shedeur wasn't trying to be anyone's prototype. He was the prototype. A new kind of quarterback for a new kind of league. Someone who could win games, dominate headlines, sell jerseys, and host a podcast, all in the same week. So when the Browns cut him, he didn't lose his platform. He expanded it. That QB3 label they slapped on him, it became the name of his new signature clothing line, dropped in collaboration with a luxury streetwear brand, modeled by athletes, influencers, and artists, sold out in under 48 hours. Meanwhile, Flacco threw 2 picks in his first preseason game, and Gabriel fumbled on a scramble that looked more like a TikTok challenge gone wrong. But no one's talking about them. They're talking about the one that got away. And Cleveland media? Oh, they're eating this alive. Headlines like, did the Browns just cut the next big thing? Shedeur's winning. And he's not even on a team. Browns front office under fire for costly mistake. The whispers are growing louder. From the locker room to local sports radio, everyone's asking the same question. How do you misread a guy that badly? But maybe the most damning thing of all? Former Browns players, the legends, the guys with statues out front, are starting to chime in. One Hall of Famer reportedly texted a team insider, "We've made a lot of mistakes over the years. This one might top the list." Because Shedeur wasn't just a talent. He was the total package. And now, teams that actually value that are lining up. You think Miami's not interested? You think Vegas, with their brand-first ownership, isn't drooling over the possibility? Even Dallas, where the Sanders name already echoes, is reportedly monitoring his status. And the Browns? They're still trotting out journeymen, trying to convince fans it's all part of the process. But it's not working. Fans are already showing up to games in custom Shedeur jerseys, even though he's not on the team anymore. Comment sections are flooded with messages like, "Bring him back. Cleveland fumbled the bag. He didn't need us, we needed him." It's a full-blown PR disaster. And as Shedeur's star keeps rising, Cleveland's decision will keep looking worse. Not just because they let him go, but because they didn't get it. They didn't see the vision. They scouted a quarterback. What they missed was a movement, a player who knew he could change the game, and a business model to match. Now, everyone else is playing catch-up. And Shedeur? He's just getting started. While Browns executives held emergency meetings behind closed doors, Shedeur was already 3 time zones ahead. Literally. He'd flown to Los Angeles, not for vacation, but to headline a tech sports summit as the featured speaker. His panel? Athletes as CEOs, the new era of sports branding. Yes, you read that right. A 5th-round rookie quarterback, fresh off being cut, was now educating Silicon Valley on how to monetize modern athletic identity. But let's be real, no one else could have pulled this off. Because Shedeur wasn't just building a brand. He was building infrastructure. During most rookie off-seasons, players are memorizing playbooks and dodging media. Shedeur? He was meeting with licensing attorneys, signing podcast distribution deals, and launching a nil consulting startup aimed at mentoring high school and college athletes on building media literacy. This wasn't some flashy rebound act. This was calculated dominance. Meanwhile, the Browns' PR department was going through its own internal meltdown. Every time they posted about a quarterback, any quarterback, the comments were hijacked by Shedeur stans. One post about Joe Flacco's leadership drew 23,000 replies. Not likes. Replies. Nearly all of them read, "Leadership like cutting the most electric QB you've had in a decade. You fumbled Shedeur. You fumbled everything." And then came the next bombshell. Shedeur was in advanced talks with a new team, one that actually knew what to do with a dynamic, brand-savvy quarterback. The team hadn't been named yet, but leaks started to swirl. The Seahawks? The Dolphins? Even Falcons, coached by none other than Raheem Morris, a longtime Deion Sanders ally. The news hit like thunder across sports media. Skip Bayless, previously skeptical, had now done a complete 180. "Look, I admit it, I didn't see the vision. But this kid? He's redefining what it means to be a franchise player. You don't just sign Shedeur. You sign a cultural wave." Meanwhile, the Browns' coaching staff began publicly tiptoeing through interviews. Kevin Stefanski, once dismissive, now looked like he was prepping for deposition. We wish Shedeur the best. Great competitor. Great young man. We're focused on the guys in our room." But here's what fans saw. Panic. Not just because of what they lost, but because of what Shedeur became. He was now doing weekly appearances on the pivot, giving thoughtful insight about leadership, failure, and vision. He was spotted at a Lakers game courtside with A-list rappers and NBA stars, rocking a limited edition bomber jacket from his own fashion line, one he co-designed with a Paris-based streetwear house. At the same time, every player under 25 in the league started reposting his clips. Not just the throws, the talks, the business moves, the mindset. It wasn't just a story of redemption. It was an uprising. NFL veterans began asking their agents why they didn't have the same clauses Shedeur had negotiated, why they didn't own their media rights, why their social content was still routed through team approval. He was shifting a landscape in real time. And for the first time, the NFL wasn't setting the tone, the players were. And then it happened. The signing. A team, long seen as conservative, surprised the world. The Pittsburgh Steelers, known for their tradition-heavy ethos and no-nonsense front office, offered Shedeur a contract. Not just a spot, a platform. Sources said the offer included provisions for media content autonomy, a clause guaranteeing jersey royalties, and an understanding that Shedeur's team would have access to produce behind-the-scenes content throughout the season. The Steelers didn't just want him, they understood him. When the announcement dropped, fans exploded. Steelers fans who had been calling for a new era embraced the signing like a gospel. Browns fans? Devastated. Social media became an ocean of "we blew it" posts and memes of Stefanski looking like he'd just dropped a Super Bowl ring down a sewer drain. But even in that moment of triumph, Shedeur kept it cool. At the press conference, when asked what he had to prove, he paused. "I don't have anything to prove," he said. "I have something to build." That's the difference. He wasn't here for revenge. He was here for legacy. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just about football. It was about ownership, control, cultural fluency. He was the first quarterback who could throw a 40-yard dime in one moment, then turn around and break down TikTok engagement algorithms in the next. Young athletes saw it. So did agents. And so did brands. Within days of signing with Pittsburgh, Shedeur locked in a tech sponsorship with a wearable recovery company. The campaign? Entirely shot, edited, and narrated by his own content crew. No third-party approval. No PR filters. He was everywhere. And then came the Browns moment, a Week 6 matchup, primetime, Steelers versus Browns. NFL marketing couldn't script it fast enough. All of a sudden, the league that once tried to quiet his noise was now printing dollar bills off his name. The promos? Wall-to-wall Sanders. The game title? Revenge Route. Tickets? Sold out in 6 minutes. As kickoff approached, even neutral fans picked sides. Not between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, but between the old model of football and the future. And when Shedeur ran out of that tunnel, cleats laced in gold, fans chanting his name in a stadium that wasn't even his home yet, you knew something had shifted. The Browns were quiet. Stefanski looked pale on the sideline. Joe Flacco fumbled twice in the first half. And Shedeur? He didn't throw shade. Didn't dance on anyone's downfall. He just threw lasers. 1 drive. 2 drives. 3. Each throw was like a line drawn in the sand. A message to every coach, exec, and media pundit who'd ever said he was too much. No, he was just too ahead. By the end of the night, he'd thrown for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Steelers won by 17. But Shedeur? He didn't celebrate. He walked off the field, handed his game-worn gloves to a young fan in the front row, and disappeared into the tunnel. No theatrics. No "I told you so." Because he didn't need to say it. His career was no longer a story about rejection. It was a blueprint. And the league? They just got put on notice. It's early August. The Cleveland Browns release a quietly worded transaction notice buried beneath injury updates and special teams depth chart chatter. No headline. No emotion. Just a line of text that reads, "QB Shedeur Sanders has been waived." And just like that, the Browns thought it was over. They thought cutting a 5th-round rookie with a flashy name and louder brand would go unnoticed in the churn of the preseason. But what they didn't count on was that Shedeur Sanders isn't just a name. He's the moment. The reaction wasn't subtle. Within minutes, the NFL Twitterverse went thermonuclear. Fans, analysts, college teammates, everyone had the same question. What did the Browns just do? Because here's the thing. Shedeur didn't fumble this opportunity. He didn't show up late, bomb the playbook, or implode in camp. He was sharp. He was focused. And according to more than one anonymous teammate, he was outplaying the so-called veterans. But the Browns didn't want swagger. They didn't want a QB who vlogged his workouts, had a fashion deal, and showed up to practice with cameras rolling. They wanted control. And Shedeur Sanders? He was never going to give them that. So when Cleveland cut ties, they thought they were humbling a kid with too much flash. But in reality, they unleashed a storm. Within 48 hours, Shadur was trending #1 in sports. Not for some scandal, not for some on-field collapse, but for what came next. Because while most rookies would spiral after getting dropped before their first real snap, Shadur turned his setback into a masterclass in brand dominance. First, he signed a content and lifestyle deal with a major digital sports network, reportedly worth 8 figures, giving him full creative control to document his journey post-Cleveland. Training, business meetings, recovery sessions, it all became part of his narrative. Next, he dropped a limited edition Cut Me Then Watch merch line. It sold out in under an hour. That's right, a player who hadn't taken a regular season NFL snap outsold top 10 draft picks overnight. And then came the deals. We're talking elite athlete brand synergy, a signature cleat collab, a full media team dedicated to nil mentorship for high school athletes, a recurring docuseries backed by a major streaming platform, and most critically, a contract with an upstart quarterback-hungry franchise that didn't just want his arm, they wanted his aura. Because here's what the Browns didn't realize. Shadur wasn't just building toward a QB1 role. He was building an empire. Cleveland saw brand risk. But the rest of the league? They saw LeBron-level crossover potential. Back to the Browns. How's it going over there? Well, let's just say Flacco's throwing ducks in the wind. Gabriel's confidence looks like a garage sale, and fans are showing up to camp in Sanders jerseys from other teams. The front office, suddenly flooded with angry calls and ticket cancellations, tried to play damage control. We evaluated all options. Stefanski mumbled at a presser. We're confident in our quarterback room. But nobody's buying it. Not the fans. Not the media. And not the players quietly liking Shadur's Instagram reels of him training in custom cleats, with his name stitched into the heel. Uncuttable. And here's the wildest part. This isn't even about revenge. Shadur's not tweeting cryptic lyrics. He's not subtweeting Flacco or reposting Browns memes. He's laser-focused. Because for him, this was never about just making a roster. This is about changing the system. He's showing every young athlete, every high school sophomore with a social media page and a dream, that you don't have to beg for relevance. You build it. You protect it. And when the league doesn't give you your moment, you make one anyway. Because while Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel were sleepwalking through preseason tape, Shadur was out here hosting sold-out QB camps in Vegas, partnering with elite trainers, and posting cinematic clips of him throwing darts with captions like, "They tried to write me off, so I picked up the pen." Yeah, that line went mega viral. Players from around the league were quoted. College QBs were wearing it on wristbands. Even veterans were DMing him asking about his media model. And behind the scenes, executives were panicking. Because every team that passed on Shadur was now facing a new reality. This wasn't just a guy who could play. This was a quarterback who could move culture. That changes everything. Meanwhile, back in Cleveland, things weren't cute. The Browns were 1-2. With Flacco looking every bit his age and Dillon Gabriel still unable to string together a clean 2-minute drill. Fans were livid. Jerseys were burned. Stefanski? Booed in his own stadium. And Shadur? Oh, he stayed quiet. Until one night, during a Thursday night football broadcast, cameras cut to him in a suite, clean fit, icy watch, flanked by media moguls and former players, grinning. The internet went wild. Tweets were flying. Fans in the stadium turned and started chanting, "We want Shadur." But here's the thing, they couldn't have him. Because just 48 hours earlier, Shadur had signed a massive endorsement-based playing deal with an expansion-minded team in a new pro football league. The kind of deal that the NFL had no control over. Not only was he getting paid to play, he was getting equity. He was co-producing branded content around his games. His team, literally, had his face painted across their locker room walls. This wasn't just a QB contract. It was ownership. And guess what? His first start with that team went viral before kickoff. The warm-up footage? Flawless spirals. Custom cleats with a chrome uncuttable plate. Entrance music curated by his personal DJ. Every moment, filmed, edited, and posted in real time. His debut wasn't just a game, it was a cultural event. Ratings beat the Browns' Sunday broadcast. Let me say that again. A non-NFL game featuring a quarterback the league cut outdrew multiple NFL matchups in key markets. Why? Because Shedeur wasn't just giving fans football. He was giving them a movement. By mid-season, jersey sales from his independent team topped charts. His NIL mentorship program already signing up college freshmen across the country. His YouTube channel pulling millions of views per episode. And finally, the NFL had to address it. At the annual league meeting in October, a reporter asked Commissioner Roger Goodell point blank, "Do you think the NFL misjudged Shedeur Sanders?" The pause said everything. Then came the PR safe answer. "We support all players pursuing their passions." Shedeur's success is a testament to the evolving landscape of sports media. Translation? Yeah, we messed up, please don't sue us. But back in Cleveland, the disaster was only getting worse. Week 6. The Browns hosted the Steelers in a must-win divisional game. The crowd was dead. The offense was flatter than Kansas. Gabriel had been benched, Flacco was limping through snaps, and the entire stadium felt like a funeral. Until halftime, when the big screen cut to a surprise guest sitting front row in a crisp white hoodie that read, "Cut from the league. Built for it anyway. Shedeur Sanders." No announcement. No promo. Just vibes. Fans erupted. The Browns' PR team reportedly didn't approve the camera shot, but it didn't matter. By the end of the third quarter, the chant returned. "We want Shedeur." Except now, it wasn't just fans saying it. It was players, local journalists, even some Browns execs who were, according to league insiders, privately lobbying ownership to bring him back. Because at this point, it wasn't just about football. It was about relevance. And Shedeur? He was living proof that a player could go from too flashy to too big to ignore, without even touching a snap count in the NFL. Let's pause for a second and appreciate what this all means. We've seen players get cut and fight their way back. We've seen athletes monetize their brands post-retirement. But what Shedeur Sanders did, he reversed the power flow. He got dropped, then became more famous than the team that dropped him. He didn't wait for a call. He made his own game. He didn't beg for endorsements. He built a media platform. And now, every top high school QB in the country is studying his blueprint, not the NFL Combine playbook. Final twist? Rumor has it multiple NFL franchises are now prepping massive offers to bring Shedeur back next season, not just as a quarterback, but as a brand partner. Meaning, if they want him, they've got to be willing to share the spotlight. Not just give him a locker, but a percentage. And guess who the front runner is? You guessed it, the Browns. Yes, the same team that cut him, disrespected him, and tried to contain his shine is now, allegedly, preparing a record-setting contract to bring him back. Not because they believe in second chances, but because they need his magic to survive the media storm they created. And Shedeur? He's not bitter. He's not angry. But let's just say, he hasn't forgotten. In a recent interview, when asked about possibly returning to Cleveland, he smiled and said, "I'm not looking back. But if I do, just know I'll be driving my own bus this time."